Today's list is going to be the top 10 criminals who became millionaires.
Disgraced money manager Bernard Madoff behind bars at this hour after pleading guilty to a massive Ponzi scheme.
Madoff was a Wall Street legend.
The biggest Ponzi scheme in history.
$50 billion in assets are wiped out, gone.
Number 10 criminal on our list who became a millionaire is Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff was a law school dropout and eventually found himself on Wall Street. He became very prominent and even became chairman of the NASDAQ. With his power and experience, he became very trusted on Wall Street. Thousands of people gave him their money to invest, but rather than investing people's money in businesses, he used the money to fund his lavish lifestyle. Bernie Madoff organized the world's largest Ponzi schemes. Basically, it's when an investor collects money from people, and rather than actually investing that money, they keep the money for themselves. They get new investors to come in, and when new investors give them money, he takes part of that money and pays out dividends to the old investors. So it looks like they're making money, but eventually, all Ponzi schemes have to come to an end. Bernie Madoff was eventually arrested and sentenced to 150 years in prison. At the time of his arrest, he was worth over $800 million. In April of 2021, Bernie Madoff died in prison.
The world's most powerful.
Whose real name is Joaquin Guzman. Mexican drug lord El Chapo.
Number 9 on our list is Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. El Chapo was probably one of the most famous drug dealers of our time. As the founder and leader of the Sinaloa cartel, he made millions of dollars. He had been arrested various times and broke out of prison more than once. He was eventually extradited and tried in the United States. At the time of his arrest, El Chapo's net worth was around $3 billion. That's right, billion with the B. Number 8 on our list is the infamous Al Capone. Al Capone was born to a very poor family in Brooklyn and eventually moved to Chicago. After getting kicked out of high school for punching one of his teachers, he ended up running with the street gangs of Chicago. He was eventually introduced to organized crime by a gangster named Big Jim. Al Capone's business was a combination of both legal and illegal businesses. Although he was known for some pretty violent crimes, he was eventually arrested for tax evasion. At the time of his arrest, he was worth about $100 million, which is about $1.5 billion in today's dollars. Rumor has it is that most of the money that he made, he hid somewhere and can't remember where it is. He told some of his nieces where he thought he hid it, but they looked and it wasn't there. So somewhere out there, there's millions of dollars that belongs to Al Capone.
Number 7. She making bands on a long pole. She bad, she Griselda Blanco. She up, she Griselda Blanco. She bad, she Griselda Blanco.
Our mother told me I'm the baddest to ever take a breath of life.
Number 7 on our list is the first female on the list, and also the first female billionaire criminal, Griselda Blanco. Griselda Blanco was originally from Medellin, Colombia, but found her way to Miami where she became one of the biggest drug dealers of the 80s, 90s, and part of the 2000s. She was known as the Godmother, the Black Widow, the Queen of Cocaine, and she was also known for her very violent tactics on anyone who didn't disagree with her. They say that she ordered a lot of hits in her day, and she ended up going out the same way. She was shot and killed by 2 people on a drive-by motorcycle coming out of a butcher shop in Medellin, Colombia.
As they say, behind every great fortune is a great crime.
Today, in the Southern District of Texas, an indictment charging R. Allen Stanford.
This was a classic Ponzi scheme.
The moral to this story is if you're full of BS, it'll get you to the top, but it will never, never, never keep you there.
So for number 6, we're going straight back to Wall Street. It's almost the same exact story as Bernie Madoff. Number 6 is Allen Stanford. Allen Stanford was a prominent investor on Wall Street, and he too ended up running a huge Ponzi scheme. The Security Exchange Commission said that he was involved in fraud, money laundering, paying off politicians, among other things. At the time of his arrest, he was worth $2.2 billion. Number 5 on our list is Kunsa. Kunsa was not only a drug dealer, but was a military leader as well and fought for his independence in East Asia most of his life. His war was funded by the opium trade. At one point when he tried to get out of the drug business, he tried to sell his drug enterprise to the country of Australia, and then he made the same offer to the United States, both of which refused. Kunsa eventually passed away, but not after making over $5 billion.
Number 4, the world's most notorious arms dealer.
Number 4 on our list is Victor Bout. Victor Bout was trained by the Russian military and was said to be part of the Russian KGB. He was an arms dealer and was known to sell weapons to anyone who had the money, even military groups that were fighting against the United States. So the USA wanted to catch him and put him in jail. Victor Bout was eventually caught and arrested, but not before making $5 billion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Number 3. I am not going to jail. I've done nothing wrong. I have done nothing wrong. I'm innocent. My only crime is that I'm Leona Helmsley.
Su nombre fue Amado Carrillo, leyenda en el contrabando.
Number 2 on our list is Amado Carrillo Fuentes. Carrillo Fuentes was known as the King of the Skies, or El Señor de los Cielos, because he was known to have a huge arsenal of airplanes, which is how he moved drugs between the United States and Mexico. He built up an estimated net worth of about $25 million. Wanting to live a normal life, Carrillo Fuentes ended up having plastic surgery on his face so he could change the way he looked, and ended up dying of complications of that plastic surgery.
Number 1. Number 1. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Number 1.
Y de la democracia colombiana. Respeto absoluto por los derechos humanos y paz para toda la nación colombiana.
Trapping like the narco, got dope like Pablo.
Number 1 on our list is the infamous Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar was known to many as the king of cocaine. He was also known as a modern-day Robin Hood, giving lots of money to the poor. At one point, he made a deal with the Colombian government where he would turn himself in, but the prison that he was going to stay in was a prison that he built himself, which was basically like a castle for him. Many movies, TV shows, books, and songs have been written about Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar is probably one of the most famous drug dealers in all history. At the time of his death, Pablo Escobar's net worth was around $30 billion, which is about $61 billion in today's money.